JC back again. Well, I got a minute. We're sitting down having a little coffee and some tea. It's interesting. Every place I go to, whether it's a restaurant or a coffee shop, they always bring you a little bit of hot tea, which is really nice. It's a pastime of Vietnamese people to sit and have some tea. And of course, I like the Vietnamese drip coffee with a little bit of sweetened condensed milk. But they don't put that much in this cup, which isn't a big cup. It was probably twice this amount when it was completely dripped in there. So it's almost like a shot. Reminds me a lot when I lived in South Florida, in the Keys, and had traveled to Cuba as well, and you drink Cuban coffee. And it was basically just a shot of espresso or two, double shot, with a whole bunch of sugar in there to make it palatable. And it was like drinking rocket fuel. And this is sort of the same. Very strong. The sweetened condensed milk takes the edge off of it. And then you got this little green tea to help wash it down, which is very nice. Some of it's jasmine green tea as well. And at this place, they actually gave us these little roasted sunflower seeds to eat as well. And you can break them open and eat the little seed that's on the inside, the kernel inside these. But they gave us 2 bags. If we ate 2 bags, we'd be here for at least a week eating those things. And of course, you just dump the remnants on the ground. But I want to talk to you, what I actually turned on the camera for is to talk to you about prices. I've been here now almost a week. And we've gone through restaurants, and I just went through a Big C. We're in Dalat, and they have a Big C supermarket, or department store is really what it is. We call them in America department stores. And it has everything. And so I went through and perused around and checked out prices, and I have a converter, so I was able to convert it and compare it to Thai baht. There were a lot of things that were about the same price as we would pay in Thailand for the same items. When it comes to eating in restaurants, it seems it's a little bit more expensive, but not a lot more expensive. The coffee is about, like this drip coffee is about 30 baht, which is a little under $1. I think the conversion now is around 35 baht to a US dollar. So it's even comparable. So all the food has basically been pretty much comparable to back in Thailand. So the cost of living isn't going to be that much different here than being in Thailand. Now, like I said, we're in Dalat, and I'm going to try and see. We're only going to be here for another day or two. And I want to see if I can find what rental, a long-term rental, by say like 6 months or 1 year, what the cost would be of a room here. Long term. So I'm going to try and find that out as well for you all. I haven't tried to rent the motorbike yet, but we might do that tomorrow. Again, it's an issue about the passport because the hotels keep passports here, so we don't have the passport to give to the motorbike as a deposit. So we might have to fork over a whole bunch of money to rent the motorbike. But in the Dalat area, there's a lot of things. There's tons of waterfalls, a big lake. There's a small lake behind me. This is in the city center. But a big lake, lots of waterfalls. There's a number of things to do here. I think there's even some rafting, if I'm not mistaken. So we might do a couple things before we leave. But really my intention was to see what it was like to for a Ripper, a retiree in paradise, to live here. And so far, I can tell you that the ambiance is pretty good. The weather is great this time of year. Very cool. The price here is comparable to Thailand. You're going to have to put up with some disgruntled people. It seems now I'm going to talk about this for a second. The people have been generally not so friendly compared to Thailand, especially older people. Any kind of vendor, if you look at anything, they're going to get mad if you don't buy it. Seems like you're bothering them anytime you disturb them for anything, and if you disturb them, they need to be compensated for that. But I don't find out with younger people. With younger people, it seems like they're more open and friendly than the older people. So that's it. We're going to enjoy a coffee, and I'm going to go on, peruse around, see if I can find a long-term rental for you all to get a price. So this would be a great option for somebody who the heat is an issue for. Then this would be a good place to live. Now, in June and July here, it rains really a lot, and some people don't even leave the house during those couple months because it rains so much. So, but another thing, I mentioned the horn honking and the unfriendliness of the people. For me, that's an issue. I come from Florida. Thai people and the Thai country resonates with me because I'm pretty low key, pretty laid back. But somebody coming from, say, I'm going to generalize now and stereotype people, but somebody say coming from New York, where they're a little more loud, a little more boisterous, a little more outgoing, expressive. I don't know what other terms, expressive terms to use. But anyway, they would probably feel right at home here, being able to honk the horn and raise their voice a little and stuff like that. So for those kinds of people, I thought about that today. This might be a better option for them than Thailand, because I do see foreigners honking the horns in Thailand. This would be a great place for them to live. It's comparable in price and everything, and they'd be able to do that. So anyway, just thought I'd bring that up. So anyway, we're going to finish our coffee and our tea, and I even got durian here, which is just coming into season in Thailand, but here it's already in season and it's soft, and so we're going to eat that. I don't know if you've ever tried it or not. You have to, I guess if you can get by the smell, if the smell doesn't bother you, you'd probably be able to eat it. I know some people, they say the smell's bad but it tastes good. Other people say it smells good but it tastes bad. I think it smells pretty good and tastes pretty good. But that's just me. Anyway, so I'll be back in a little while with some more information for you all as to what it's like to retire and live in Vietnam. See ya. One thing I wanted to show you was interesting to me about most Southeast Asian countries. We're actually at a hotel, and this is the lobby of the hotel. And if you can see, they actually use the lobby as parking area as well. So you got the lobby, but they park their car and their motorcycle, their motorbikes right in the lobby. I always get a kick out of this. Okay, I want to show you all a few things. Now, I would love to ask some of these prices, but I really can't because of the people getting mad if I ask the price and then I don't buy anything. But I want to show you these strawberries, the avocados here. Amazing. We have just enough avocados in the north of Thailand to support the north of Thailand. You don't get too many of them further south. And when you do, they're a little bit more expensive than they are up in Chiang Mai. But Chiang Mai has a large supply of avocados, and you can usually get about a kilo during season for about 35 baht. But I wanted to show you, check out these artichokes. This is amazing. Look at the size of these artichokes. I wish I had a kitchen to be able to cook these up, melt a little butter and garlic and dip those babies in there. Oh man. Now, because there's a problem with language, what they do when you're asking for a price, if they have a calculator, they'll show you on the calculator. If not, they'll take out the money in their hands and show you with the amount of money. Like if that was 1 kilo, I said 1 kilo, they're going to recognize 1 kilo, and then they'll show me like 50,000 dong in their hand to show that that's how much 1 kilo would be. And that's how they sort of show the prices. Not everybody has calculators here, so that's how they do it. They'll look in their bag and get the money, but that takes effort to do that, and they're not real happy about taking that kind of effort and then you're not buying it. Got some strawberry jelly and stuff too. If I had a place to stay, I'd probably be getting some of this, even though I don't use jelly very often. Hello. Now you're gonna notice I'm gonna get approached by sellers. No, thank you. No, thank you. And I thought, no, thank you. I thought that this was only prevalent in a tourist area like in Saigon, but I'm getting hit with this here as well. The vendors are always coming up and trying to get me to buy something. Look at these heads of broccoli, how big these are. We also got blackberries as well. But the size of the heads of broccoli is amazing how big these are. I mean, look at the size of these artichokes. It's amazing. I love this stuff. I just wish I had a place here long term to be able to cook up some of this. Look at the heads of the lettuce. Wow, look at the head of lettuce. Wow, that's gigantic. Wow, really nice. Yeah, the quality of the vegetables here. And they had beetroots last night I was here. They had beetroots that were this big. In Thailand, the beetroots are tiny. This is the size of the beetroot in Thailand, what you see with this lady. But last night I saw leeks that were there. Look at the size of these leeks. Amazing. For here, you know, maybe back home you're used to that size. Now last night I was here and all of a sudden the police, I'd never seen police here in Vietnam ever. And last night all of a sudden they swooped in and chased down a couple vendors. Oh, beans, wow. Huh. Chased down some vendors. And I'm not sure why they picked those specific vendors to chase down either. Here we got the lady with the grapes lady. No, thank you. The grapes lady here. See, we got green and purple grapes. More berries. So anyway, I wanted to share this with you. Like I said, I can't stop and ask how much. No, thank you. How much 1 kilo? How much? How much 1 kilo? 10,000?
1 kilo bao nhiêu? 150,000 đồng. 1 kilo.
1 kilo, how much? See, no. Oh yeah, she's gonna show me. 1 kilo is 30,000. 130,000. 120,000. 120,000. Oh. No. Yeah, I see that. You got some problem there. How much is a bag? How much? How much? How much for the bag? One bag. You speak English?
100 nha. 100 nha.
100? Huh? I don't know how much. I don't understand. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know, but I don't know how much the bag is. 100 for one bag. For one bag? So I don't know if she's telling me the price now that the grapes dropped in price or how much the bag is. So this is a challenge when you don't speak the language. And here, even though this is a high tourist area, and the kids now, the young people are actually studying. They dropped French as a second language and started studying English. So the young people can speak some English, and they're actually very friendly. Where the older people, huh? 10,000. Oh. See, I feel bad for this lady. Oh yeah, it's got one for the shoulder and one for the hands. So I feel bad because this lady, and we could use the extra bag because I know Nat likes to shop. Hold on. Oh, no, thank you. Thank you. Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know. It's okay. Okay? Thank you. Not okay. See, now this is the weird thing about here, is, you know, now I feel bad that this is why I don't even want to ask the price of things here, because this is prevalent behavior where they get mad. Thank you. She's probably gonna take it after I put my stuff in it. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Well, here you go now. Thank you. Very good. Yeah, she wants more money. Yeah, here's the size of the beetroots I was telling you. Look at the size of these things. They're gigantic. So if you're wondering, that was 10,000 baht, and 10,000 is about 32,000 is 50 baht. So 15 baht. So it's like 50 cents, something like that for the thing. And it's not a lot for the bag. Look at these avocados, amazing, huh? How many avocados they're selling, and the strawberries. Strawberries aren't too bad, they're not real sweet. They hit me with a bait and switch, which was like, okay, here, try these, and they were sweet, and then they sell me the ones that weren't quite as sweet. But anyway, so we got our bag. I got a chance to show you some things in the market. When these motorbikes go by, I want to show you some of these flowers over here, really pretty. Check these out. Cool little fresh flower bouquets in these little baskets. Very cool. Nice looking flower. Look at these, yeah. They're like little miniature roses. Rose, like. Anyway, there you go. I get to experience a little Dalat with me, right? Okay, so hope this is all informative, and this is really a switch for me. And that is because, you know, not being able to speak the language, I'm like you would be in Thailand probably, but the difference here is the level of anger that I get when I don't buy something. In Thailand, we use this term called "mai pen rai," it means never mind, and that permeates society there. It's like you don't want to buy it, "mai pen rai." They don't really get angry except in certain places in Thailand. Here it's prevalent, you know. Just like if you don't move over and they want to go buy in a vehicle, you don't move over, they'll honk the horn and get angry at you until you move. So anyway, just my feeling. I'm going to interview, I ran into a friend last night that I've known from Thailand. I hadn't seen him in years, and I ran into him last night, and I'm going to see if I can sit down with him and do an interview with him. Because I ran into him last night here. It was a funny thing. I haven't seen him in years. And I want to talk, because he's lived in Thailand for a while as well, and we can get his impression of the comparison between here and there, and see how he feels as opposed to just my feelings. So anyway, we'll look him up. I'll give him a shout tonight and see if we can't interview him tomorrow. But I'm not sure if we're going to be shooting any more tonight, but if something comes up, I'll be sure to let you know. Okay? So we got our bag now, so Nat can do more shopping. So see ya. Okay, so JC here for RetireCheap.Asia, and today I'm talking to somebody not really about retiring, but about the difference, because we're in Dalat in Vietnam, and I happened to run into you just going down the street. So when they say it's a small world, it really is a small world. And I hadn't seen you for, I don't know, 3-4 years it's been, sure. And to run into you was really great. It was great to see you again, and we got the chance to talk a little bit while we were having lunch the other day. But I wanted to catch up with you because I've only been in the country of Vietnam for about 1 week.
Yeah.
You've been over here how long now?
About 5 weeks.
5 weeks. And so you've spent time, as I have, in Thailand as well.
Yeah.
And you're not retired yet.
No.
And so you're sort of what they call the digital nomad, kind of thing. And you actually come over to Southeast Asia because you spend a lot of time in Eastern Europe.
Yep. Eastern Europe in the summers.
Yeah, in the summers. And so you come here because it gets cold there.
Yeah.
And this is a much better climate. So what I wanted to do is talk to you about the difference between Chiang Mai, because you're very versed in what Chiang Mai is like. You spend a lot of time there. Compared to Vietnam, because you've been here now a little bit longer than I have. Plus, you know people that live here.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to go over a few things and get your comments on them. One is, how are you dealing with the traffic? I mean, because they drive in on the opposite side than Thailand. Back in Eastern Europe, which side do you drive on?
We drive on the same as the States or
Same as here. So this is easy.
Same as here, yeah.
Okay, so that's good. So for that's a plus for you. So how about the aggressiveness of the drivers here, the horn honking and stuff like that?
Well, you get used to it. The horn honking isn't too much. The problem is actually how they drive. It's just they have no respect for life or whatever. I mean,
is that pervasive of Southeast Asia, or because
I've
you don't
never
get
seen
that
anything
feeling
like
in Thailand?
No, not at all.
Okay.
In my past, I would say I lived in Panama for a bit, and I thought Panama was the worst drivers on earth. This by far, 10 times worse. It's almost like you're watching a movie and a guy loses control, has no brakes on a truck, and he's going down the highway and just slamming his horn nonstop and just driving over any way he can get. That's how they drive here.
Normally. That's a normal operating procedure behind the wheel here.
Yesterday we had, coming home at 30 kilometers, at least 5 times we had to drive in the ditch to avoid oncoming
And that when you're on a motorbike, and those people were probably in cars or vans
trucks
or something.
Yeah, they'll double pass. One car will pass, and the other one behind them will pass that car. So you've got one car going here, and they're basically 3 cars wide in something that's no more space than a 2-car lane.
And somebody's got to give.
Yeah, and somebody. You're
the smallest one on the food chain, right? Yeah. Well, that's crazy. Yeah, I've noticed. I usually rent motorcycles wherever I go, and I've been here now for 3 days, 4 days, or something. And I'm apprehensive to get behind the wheel here.
Yeah,
and I'm used to driving in Thailand, which I thought would prepare me for just about anything. You know? No, this is different now. Maybe when I get to another city, I'll try it out. But this was really nice because I really noticed on the way walking over to do this conversation with you that I think one of the reasons I haven't rented a motorbike here as well was because the weather in Dalat is very pleasant to walk around. It's not that scorching high humidity that we're used to in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, it's a bit chilly, especially in the evenings if you're on a motorbike.
Yeah, on a motorbike, I'm sure it is. Yeah, and for me, this is a blessing. You know. I wait all year for this kind of weather in Chiang Mai, you know, and so this is really nice to me. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was the costs here compared to Thailand. What do you think? I sort of have an opinion about that when we were talking about food and housing and things like that. How do you feel in cost comparison?
Well, I would think we haven't looked much at housing, but I would think housing is comparable. If you're buying restaurant food or something like that, it would be more expensive, I would say, probably 30%. If you're buying, we haven't found a location. We'd like to have a kitchen where we can cook ourselves, but it seems that most that we've seen that the prices are comparable to Thailand for buying meats and vegetables and stuff like that.
Yeah, I walked through the department store Big C and perused around a little bit, and the food was pretty much the same price, canned goods and things like that. Some of the fruits and everything was pretty comparable as well. Going to the restaurant, I think restaurants are maybe 30% higher than it would be if you were in a restaurant in Thailand.
That's what I
as an average, I think that's a pretty good clue. The other thing is, you know, I wanted to be fair coming into this because, as you know, I had a restaurant up in Chiang Mai, which is where we met, and every traveler that had gone through that had said they'd been to Vietnam, I wanted to ask them, what's your experience like? Because I've always wanted to come here. And every time the response was basically the same. And I didn't want to go into this whole video thing of Vietnam prefacing with this, but it seems to be what most people say is true, and from my perspective, so I want to get yours as well. And that is, most people said the country's beautiful, which you just went to a place yesterday. It's like Niagara Falls. You said it was gorgeous, which, so I agree with that. The cost of living is comparable to Thailand. It's a good deal for a U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
And the food is pretty good compared to, say, Cambodia. The Khmer food I couldn't really. I like Vietnamese food. I think it's tasty, especially the coffee.
Yeah.
But dealing with the people, and the horn honking is part of that culture.
Yeah.
Dealing with the people has been a challenge for me. And at first, when I got into Saigon, I thought, okay, it's just in this area, tourist area I'm at, that I'm being harassed by vendors. People aren't friendly. I can't ask for a price for anything. But now I came here and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so what's your experience with this? And
well, we found that I generally try and find places that have less tourism. Mm-hmm. But here, the more tourism, the more endurable it is to dealing with the people. It seems that they have some acclimatization of dealing with people.
It's better.
Yeah. When you go to places where there isn't tourists, I mean, they really treat you terrible. I mean, it's just basically like, give us your money and get out of our face.
Yeah, you said you walked up to ask a question and they just...
Yeah, they just go away.
That's how you go away.
Yeah.
That's saying it politely compared to the way you described it the first time.
But I mean, we've been in...
Can you tip that down?
We've been in places in markets in Nha Trang where you come up and they just say, you go away. We don't deal with you. It's like the first time I felt, prejudice against because I'm white.
But there's a lot of foreigners in Nha Trang.
Yeah, well, this particular place, it looked like they only dealt with locals and Chinese. And if you're non-Chinese or non-local, then they just told us, we're like, how much is that? Go away, you can buy it over there.
Hey, you and I, when I ran into you the other night, I was actually doing a video for YouTube, shooting part of it, or for my member site. I can't remember which one it was, but I was actually talking about the price of berries or something that I'd stopped for, and then you said, hey, and I was like, I stopped. And then we started talking, and the vendor actually came over and said, move out of the way.
Yeah. And we weren't really in her way.
No, I mean,
3 meters from her stand.
Yeah. And then we saw them as so we walked across away from where they were. Mm-hmm. And then we saw them, they actually moved your motorbike out of the way.
Yeah.
And you relayed a story or an experience to me about how you were actually... You stopped to get something to eat. You actually stopped to get something to eat. We're checking to see if we actually got what we ordered. Okay.
Thank you.
She handed that one specifically to me, and you had the shoe. Yeah, she did good. Very good. Thank you. And so you relayed an experience to me that you stopped to eat, and it was a series of stalls or little open restaurants. There wasn't anybody around.
Yeah.
You parked your motorbike in one, checked it out, and thought, we'll check out.
It was in front of one. It wasn't really in one. It was on the street.
Yeah. On the street.
Yeah.
On the street.
And they came out and said, move on. If you're not going to buy here, move your motorbike.
Don't park here.
Yeah.
So in essence, what they wanted you to do was, okay, park here, look at the menu. No, I don't want to do it. Move your motorbike. Look at.
And we were, which was unfortunate, is I didn't want to eat there out of principle, but in the end we ended up eating there anyhow.
I don't think they understand that. To me,
just
I wanted to shoot a video about a ladies' restaurant in Bangkok. In Saigon, and she said, "Sit down, sit down." I said, "No, I just ate, but I loved the price. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a great value. I thought, I'm going to do this video about this place because the menu was great." And as soon as I said, "No, I'm not going to sit down and eat right now," she basically told me the same thing: "Get away, go." Yeah. And she was very mean. I'm thinking, that's very short-sighted,
It's not, I don't know, we try and describe it as being mean, but I mean, it's not something you've ever been anywhere else in the world. You haven't dealt with this situation on a daily basis. At least I haven't.
It's anti-productive.
Yeah,
if you think logically about it, it's like it makes no sense.
Yep.
Not to take care of a potential customer.
Yep.
Maybe not a customer today, but a customer tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's not like they're treating you cold and callously. It's like
yes, they are
mean. They're like aggressively mean to you. It's not just you're
ignoring you and go sit down. They actually you
actually feel this aggression constantly. Mm-hmm. You feel this negative energy constantly.
Yeah. how much do you, your opinion, the percentage of Buddhism, people practicing Buddhism in this country, I want to say it's not so much. I don't know the exact figure, so it might be incorrect, but it was something like 16% or 20%,
Yeah, we
something like
figure
that.
it's very
Yeah.
minimal.
So I've been to Cambodia. Have you been to Cambodia?
Yeah, a little bit, a couple weeks.
Yeah, I didn't get that feeling from them. And if you said, okay, these people are this way because of the history of the country, you know, but the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, you can that's pretty comparable as far as, you know, what they have to endure.
Yeah.
But they're not that way.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, is it the Buddhism religion that gets them to have that more of a relaxed state? Well, how do you feel about that? What do you think? Because I don't understand why it's so much different here.
I haven't really looked at the religious perspective. I thought it was maybe politics, because basically they're raised to believe that they're entitled. I mean, according to the pseudo-political system, yet they get nothing. You know,
no matter if they're nice or not.
yeah. So maybe.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, that's my perspective. Is that,
Yeah.
I mean, if you live in a country for 40 years where you've got absolutely nothing, I mean, where they, you know, oh, you're entitled to everything because we have communism, but in general, you know, fight for your own. And they don't really have a capitalist system where they're competing.
But now they do.
Well, now they do. But
It's free enterprise.
But that's why I think that
It's a carryover.
if you go into the more tourism places, it's more friendly, more easier to deal with, because they understand that they have to do something like that. When you go to these areas where there's no tourists, you know, you just give them their money.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that would make sense too, because I've noticed with the younger people, they're much more open and friendly.
Yeah, the younger people are much nicer. And, I mean, there is. I don't want to paint it all wrong, because we've had a lot of wonderful experiences where people go out of their way to help us out and stuff like that. But it's those, I like to call them trolls, that really burn a negative attitude in your mind against Vietnam.
Yeah, well, that's real interesting about the political aspect of it. That could be what's caused that to happen here. Interesting. And I noticed too that every time I'm around somebody that has a motorbike, and I've actually watched them park it, and people come out and tell them, lock the helmet up.
Yeah.
And lock the helmet every time.
Yeah.
And you mentioned an experience where somebody you know has actually had a phone taken out of their hand while they're walking down the street.
Yeah, and
so is crime, petty crime, I would say. I haven't seen a lot of violent crime here, which I don't know what the statistics are, but it seems petty crime might be an issue for somebody that was living
I understand
here.
it is. We were in the one of these little waterfalls. My girlfriend set her hat down on the stone to climb up the waterfall. We came back down, it was gone, and we ran up the mountain because we figured there's no place that they can go. So we ran up the trail and found the woman. She's just carrying it, and we said, "That's mine." Oh, haha, and gave it back. You know, it's like I don't know if it's a thing of entitlement, but she didn't even act like it was a big deal. But she took it. It was like
that's really a contrast to me, because in Thailand I've seen people leave things.
Yeah.
And nobody touches them. Yeah, nobody touches them. I've really been, you know, I've actually did a video on YouTube a long time about that, where I was actually waiting in a bus station, and people left all their luggage and everything, and crossed the street, went to 7-Eleven, went shopping, and came back, and nobody touched any of their stuff, and everything they owned was sitting on the bench in public view. You know,
I've walked into these small shops in Thailand where the purse is there, the phone is there, laptop, computer, and nobody's around. And I'm walking around the shop, want to buy something. You go to the neighbor and say, "Where's the girl that works here?" "Oh, she went to the shop for food. She'll be back in 5 minutes."
Yeah, she'll be back. Just left everything sitting
Everything
there.
there out in the open, and they don't even think anything of it.
See, now, even though you're not a retiree, this is important because of anybody that's thinking of staying in some place long term. Because what you're talking about, the theft thing, that immediately brings to mind when I lived in Latin American countries. Every neighborhood had a guard. Here we have a guard in Vietnam. Every time you park your bike, there's a guard there. And the fear was that if you had a house and you didn't have that guard, or weren't paying the guard, that you'd come home and all your stuff would be gone.
Yeah.
Whether the guard was the one that took it because you didn't pay him or not, I don't know. But that was the mentality there. Now I seem to get that feeling, that sense here that, you know, your stuff is, you need to pay attention and protect all your stuff.
Yeah.
Which, as you get older, that's not something you should want to worry about, should it?
Yeah. I mean,
even younger people
I
don't want to worry about that.
I mean, some people haven't had an option of seeing different places, but after living in a place like Chiang Mai, and to me, that's a big thing when I look.
And that attitude, it changes a little bit as we go into what I call my no-fly zones, Pattaya, Phuket, and then it gets more like the attitude here.
Yeah.
They're not as friendly, and it's a little more dangerous. Theft increases. That it gets to be more like this in those areas, but in most every other place in Thailand, the average Thai citizen in Thai city, they're friendly and it's safe.
Yeah.
And that guy you said had the phone taken away out of his hand. Did I remember correctly? You said that was like the fifth phone.
Yeah, he's on his fifth phone right now, and he's only been here 2 months. So he's had 2 stolen out of his hand. 1 was stolen in his room, and 1 he misplaced it and went back to get it, and it was gone. So 1 was his phone.
I've had people chase me out of restaurants in Thailand.
Tell you,
you left your phone. Or I go through to pay and paid parking or something. He's checking.
Yeah, I know it's automatically my phone.
Or I paid parking or something and I paid too much and forgot my change and driven off. And this has happened in restaurants and stuff where they actually chased me down to give me the change.
Yeah.
So okay, we have to have fairness in reporting here. What is the upside you've seen of being here? For me, this city, it's the weather. I mean, this is gorgeous weather for me. I mean, this is Florida winter weather. Yeah. But for you, would you come back to Vietnam, and if so, why?
I mean, I would say the only thing preventing me from coming back would be the people. I mean, other than that, they have easy visa regulations. It's very easy to get a visa. You can live here long term. You can work here without a problem.
You can work here, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that work. I mean, nobody enforces the regulation, and if you want to get legal, then it's very easy as well. If you've got they just introduced a new law about 2 weeks ago that if you have a bachelor's degree and if you're practicing in the field that your bachelor's degree is, then you don't need a work permit.
Wow.
So it's very easy. You can buy land here. Which is a big thing for me in Asia. You know, I've always wanted to have my own winter place as opposed to renting. I've been renting for years. Just a place to call home, but this issue with buying land is something else.
Do you have any particulars or any details about? I hear that's a big issue. You know, it's not as easy as they make it sound. Like, a foreigner can own land.
Yeah, I don't know about the specifics. It was just one thing that we found out before we came to Vietnam, and we said, let's maybe check about Vietnam.
Because now that you've been here and been around the people, that doesn't matter if you can own land or not. So another upside, we got to throw some good stuff in here.
It's countryside is beautiful. I mean, you really get, everything you can imagine for real raw beauty of the land. There's the issues the people and this also goes along with the people is the garbage. That here you don't see it so much, but a lot of the little villages there's garbage everywhere. But you see it in Central American countries, Southern
Cambodia was like that too. They're not conscious, and Thailand is just becoming conscious of it.
Yeah.
You know,
Thailand's okay compared to many of the other tropical places, but here you really see a lot of it. I mean, so much so that even on the motorbike you smell it, and it smells like you're going through a garbage dump. And some beautiful locations on the beach, and there's just garbage strewn all along the side of the road.
One of my members just said that. I did this video for my member site, and it was really we're in Vietnam and things like this, and explained my feelings of first getting over here and stuff. And one of my members said, "Can you describe what the smells are that you smell?" And I'm thinking, well, 2 things. One is my sinuses aren't so good to start with. I have sinus problems. So if I smell something, it's got to be pretty bad. For the average person, it's got to be pretty overwhelming. So I have trouble, but I get hit with some smells every once in a while, which was the same thing. Have you ever been to the Philippines?
No.
Oh, yeah, well.
Oh, really? Well, that was our next location.
Oh, man. Yeah, the smells emanate from, you can't get away from them ever because the sewers are open and stuff, so you're getting the smell from sewers as you walk along, and the garbage is everywhere, and people there, I don't want to say they're like Vietnamese people, but you get that feeling of uneasiness.
Yeah.
And it might just be because they're not a smiling culture.
Yeah.
And the men, the Philippine men love to wear sunglasses. Yeah. So when you see this guy looks like a thug, basically he's sneering at you with this dark sunglasses and stuff, and it doesn't feel, you don't feel safe. Yeah. He might be a real great guy. That's just a feeling I get. But anyway, the smells. Well, you know, it's funny because I've looked forward to this trip for so long to come here, you know, and so far I'm sort of on the fence. You know, there's a lot of good, but there's that one thing about because my criteria when I moved to Southeast Asia, I was going to move to Brazil or Southeast Asia when I first made the move out of the country that I lived in to go live somewhere else, and it had to be the criteria was the food had to be good, it had to be good value. You know, the cuisine I have to enjoy. It has to be good value in everything that you're spending your money on, and the people have to be friendly. And that was one of the main criteria. And the issue with Brazil at that time was that, you know, I needed to earn some extra money, and you really couldn't do that in that country where you could in Southeast Asia at that time. But the people were friendly, the food was good, and it was a good value. And so I'm weighing that here as to, is this a great place? Now, I did mention this. I might have mentioned it to YouTubers already, but for people that come from the Midwest in the United States or the southern states or someplace like that, this would be a pretty overwhelming thing with the people and the attitude. Somebody coming from LA or New York or something where they're always yelling and raising their voice and honking horns, and you know, they would fit right in, wouldn't they?
I still think it'd be a big transition.
Really?
I mean, maybe not. I mean, I know I've met people here that like the place, and I think it's because they haven't been to other places. When you go to, I was in Colombia and Ecuador for a while and met a lot of people. Oh, this is the most beautiful place on earth. And it wasn't bad, but they've never been to Thailand. And I asked them, hey, have you ever been to Thailand? And they said, oh, we have friends there. And I'm like, well, what was with them? And they said, well, they were in Colombia and they thought it was the best when they moved to Thailand. They've never been back to Colombia.
That tells you something, doesn't it?
So I'm like, when you compare the two side by side, there's really no.
Yeah, well, you know, the Latin culture and the Buddhist culture, I'm going to use those two, and not, you know, because one's a religion and one's a society, really. But those two things make a big difference. I mean, because the Latin culture is more of a Christian culture, and it seems to me their values and rules are a lot different, and that reflects that in this country as well, who has a very small percentage of Buddhists as well. So for me personally, I fit in more with that Asian yin-yang karmic kind of attitude, you know, to do good things, try and behave, and you're going to have a better life next time after you get hit by the bus. But that's just me, and I didn't get that in Latin cultures. It was very expressive, which is really good on one hand. But here you can't get people to really, well, I shouldn't say here. In Vietnam, I think they're very expressive. But in other Asian cultures, countries, it's hard to get them to tell you what they feel. They don't want to hurt your feelings because they think maybe you don't want to hear the truth. Whereas in Latin cultures, you can't get them not to tell you how they feel, you know, no matter what the cost is going to be. And that was a big difference for me. It's like the yin and yang of the world, you know, Latin culture and Asian culture.
Well, it's a bit. Well, it depends. If you're doing business here, it's probably a bit more of a learning curve in here as in Thailand, with the saving face and somebody being direct and stuff like that. Or for me, doing business is much easier in a culture where they're very direct, because you know the issues. I mean, in Eastern Europe, when you're selling real estate, if somebody comes, as opposed to America, you show them, oh, this is a beautiful living room, and they go, oh, yeah, it's okay, thank you. And, you know, in Eastern Europe, they'll tell you, no, it's not, it's ugly. And they're direct, and
you
which
don't
is a
like
good thing in business. No, here they're more so. I mean, here they're just rude to be rude. It seems so. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I'd like to have a different opinion, but I haven't been able to find one yet.
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm trying. Like I said, the young people seem to not have that. The young people are very friendly. And that makes sort of supports your theory about it could be the political structure that these older people grew up in. And that doesn't matter if they're nice or not nice, they're going to get the same reward.
Right.
You know, interesting. Well, this has been a real great conversation. It was really great to hook up with you, too, you know, and run into you. And I'm sure when the winters get cold in Eastern Europe, we're going to be in touch and catch up again and maybe we'll hash out some more of these conversations about different places you've experienced. But I appreciate you sharing your feelings and your thoughts with me and with the people that I share the videos with. So
Great.
yeah, oh cool. All right, and by the way, what you actually come from the Western country, but you spend time in Eastern Europe here. Why is it that you don't spend time back home? I can tell you why I don't. You know, I don't for a number of reasons, and one is all the things that I mentioned before. The food, I don't really care for American food or Western food. The value's no good anymore, and the people, unless you're in the southern states who have that southern hospitality kind of thing, or the Midwest, the farms and stuff. People are. I'm amazed. You know, coming from Thailand, where you can talk to anybody. You can meet anybody and talk to them. I go back to the States and I go to say hello to somebody and it's like they want to call 911. You know, like, why is this person talking to me? What is it that your reason? I'm curious. Just
my biggest thing is freedom. I mean, which may shock a lot of people in the States.
America's the land of the free. What are you talking about?
But I mean, once you get out of the country for 4 or 5 years, everything comes into focus and you start to realize that America's not a free country and has nothing to do with freedom. It's too overregulated. I mean, way more so than...
When all the regulations and everything, the political process is all geared towards supporting the contributors to put those people in office to make those policies.
Yes, exactly.
It's one big circle, and unfortunately the citizens are outside the loop.
I mean, in America we're raised to believe in Europe that Europe is overregulated, but really Europe is nowhere close to America's level of regulation.
I've never been anywhere in the world that is as regulated as America is. And now I've never been, well, we are in a communist country. I was going to say, I've never been, even in communist countries now.
Actually, communist countries are much easier than socialist countries because they're so far beyond the socialism that they don't need the funding to do all the regulation. It's much more safer. Let's say if you go into Belarus or Laos, you're going to see very little crime because they'll just kill anybody that's a problem. If there's a drug dealer in town,
there's a line, you just don't cross it
because
you know what happens if you cross it.
Right, exactly. They don't have to appease the people. They don't have to, keep.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
No, I mean there's some advantages. I mean, there's some advantage. I mean, in Laos, I feel very safe.
Because the opposite end of that spectrum is we've tried to appease everybody in the United States, and we've appeased nobody now.
Exactly.
Nobody benefited from it.
And then everybody that wants to make a regulation to protect their ideas, and generally it's not protecting anybody's ideas.
No.
It's just making everybody stay home and
be unsocial.
Exactly.
Well, again, thanks so much. I appreciate it. I hope this has been informative and entertaining as well. And we'll get back to showing you some more things. And hopefully, as I go on with these videos, because I have another 3 weeks or something here, almost 3 weeks, maybe that'll change as I start heading further north, and because there is a different mentality between the southern part of Vietnam and the north. So we'll see. I'm interested in checking it out.
I'm excited to see it as well.
So for Phil and JC, remember, there's always an option when it comes to where you're staying, even in Vietnam. See ya.